How dare her sit there and lie and tell me some lies when she knew what was going on? And I told her to call Jatavia White because I wanted to see if I could stay at her house. And Jatavia White showed up with her boyfriend Q. And then she was over there saying on the phone with her mother that she wanted to let me do it by myself. That she wanted to sit there and let a black woman pregnant do it by herself. Talking about, oh, my mama went to the shelter, but I didn't know they was all conspiring to have me murdered in this country for the white man. Yeah, that's what they were doing. And then so Jatavia ended up dropping me off at the Motel 6, and I paid for 3 nights, and then I had to get on POF and ask me, and I told them it's not for sex, I need help. And a man named Malcolm came over there, and he had drugs. He was trying to sell drugs, and then the Conroe police came over there, and I told him, don't sell no drugs, you give me them drugs, and I flushed him, and he got mad, and the Conroe police was outside my hotel room. After the 3rd night that I was there, he paid for the room with his debit card, and then he over there, and Jatavia came up to the room and dropped me off before all of this happened, before the 3 days was up. And then he came over there and he was trying to stage an arrest like I had weed and pills and shit in the fucking hotel that he brought. And then he left me there. He bought me some pizza and took the pizza and ran off and left. He tried to get me to have sex with him. I was still bleeding. He tried to get me to have sex with him unprotected, and I said no, and he ran off and left me there. He was telling me his family was rich and he would let me come with him, and he left me there at the hotel and was trying to keep me from getting myself together before checkout time. And I went in the bathroom and started getting myself together anyway, and he ran off and left me instead of taking me with him. And then I had a man named Colin that came the night before when Malcolm was there telling me that I could come with him to his house, and I met him on POF and I told him my situation, and he said, I will let you stay for a month or 2 and find you a job. You won't have to pay me no rent. I have a 2-bedroom. The roommate, a roommate is moving out, and you can stay in that bedroom. But when I came, the roommate was still there. It was a young light-skinned black male with a female, and then Colin had me sleeping in the bed with him and having sex with him. And this was around Christmas time. And I stayed until the beginning of January, and he was telling me to go to the gas station to meet a man to get him some stuff. And then there was a man in a black Charger who was telling me he wanted me to go to somewhere and use my ID for syrup. And I told him no, I would not do it. And then Colin was over there trying to get a Mexican man from his job at HEB distribution warehouse to come and have sex with me for money. And I said no. He said he was needing money, and he met the man. The man brought him over, and they was trying to coerce me to agree to have sex with this Hispanic man. And then he left. I never did have sex with this man, but he was trying to get me agreed to do it. And then Colin was trying to turn the air conditioning down to 60 degrees, putting 2 fans on me, making me sick inside of his home. This was before the whole COVID-19 bullshit. And then he was I had to go sleep in the living room. And then he was still trying to argue with me in his home. And I ended up leaving. And I was walking around looking for jobs. Nobody would hire me. There was a young black man, an older black man who I met in the McDonald's. And he was trying to say that he knew the manager. He tried to offer me $20 for sex when I was in there trying to fill out an application and buying a little biscuit for $1. Colin was telling me I could not eat anything out of his home after he first told me that I could. Then he was telling me I couldn't eat nothing, and I was in there starving. I needed a ride to go and get me a new phone, which this was a phone that I got because originally I only had a flip phone from Walmart that I bought with the $200 that Shakina had given me. And it was prepaid up, unlimited with the cards. And then he wouldn't take me, and I had to walk 5 miles to go and get this. It took me 5 hours to go and get this phone. Cynthia, at the time I was in contact with Cynthia Vera. She was allowing me to speak to my son over the phone. My son sounded like he was in distress at the time. He wanted me to come and pick him up. He still remembered who I was, but they had ordered that I could not see my son unless I paid to come and see him. Shakina was saying she would pay. I did not want them to pay me out to be like I had to have supervised visitation, so I was trying to get a lawyer to get that removed. And then when I asked Shakina to take me, she said she would have to check her account, and I said don't worry about it, just help me get my I'll give you the money, order my birth certificate online. I need to get my social security card so that I could get a job. And then while I was over there at Colin's house, the old man was continuing to try to get me to come to his house and give me money for sex. I told him I would not. He gave me $40, and then he tried to get me to meet him at a hotel and have sex with him, and I told him that I would not have sex with him for the money. And then Colin was over there saying that a woman named Kawana was going to come over there, that she was pregnant with his twins, and that I would have to leave or she would fight me. And I eventually ended up leaving. I had met men on POF. They picked me up, took me to hotels, tried to get me to spend my money on the room that I did not have, and then they dropped me off in the middle of nowhere at a gas station. And I called Jatavia and Tess. I said, Tess, can you come and get me, please? This man left me stranded at the gas station in the middle of nowhere after Colin was treating me like shit in his home. And then they said, she said, no, I'm too drunk to come and get you. I called Jatavia. Jatavia said, I cannot come and get you. Something is wrong with my car. And then I said, I said, well, if I find a ride, can I come? She said, yes. My phone died at the gas station. I was asking a white woman, could I use her phone? She rolled up the window on me, but she had been following me. And then there was a black couple that had been following me. They had the smell of marijuana in the car with a child. There was they said they were from out of town. It was a van. They brought me to, they told me they could not get me to Jatavia's house. Their phone was not working. So I charged my phone in their car and I pulled up her address and I got dropped off at Jatavia's house where she was staying with Q, which was actually near my apartment because at first they were staying in Tall Timbers, which is a low income neighborhood on the other side of the tracks. So now she had an apartment on the other side of the tracks where I had mine, which was near a lot of white people. And she was saying that I could only stay for one night. They didn't offer me any food. I prayed and stayed on a futon couch in her living room. And then the man from the syrup man called. And I said, I cannot go with you unless you will buy me some food because I was hungry and pregnant. And he said, yes, he will buy me some food. He called me an Uber. When he called me the Uber, he tried to use my ID. He said he wanted to use my ID to try to see if he could get me a phone, a better phone. So a black woman pulled up in a truck, a SUV, and they took my ID to see if they could give me a phone, but they never did. They gave me back my ID. Then he tried to fight with me when I tried to get the food. I ended up getting out of his car and walking in. There was a man named Pharaoh that I had met on POF. He came and picked me up, and there was a man named Joshua that I met on POF that said he was cool with Swisher House, and he was trying to get me to go stay with a black man that would be trying to rape me in his home, so I would not go. And then Pharaoh came and got me and brought me to an office where he was working as a funeral director. Well, not a director, where he was transporting the bodies, and he brought me there and he was giving me all kind of drugs, and he was telling me that he was going to try to sex traffic me and get me to walk down the block or this and that. And he asked me at first, he said, well, first I can just give me a couple pictures of you and I'll let you go out with a few Hispanic men. You don't have to have sex with them. They'll just take you out. You know, you get the money from them and that's it. And I was like, okay, I don't want to get in trouble for anything. Then he was telling me I have to have you walking down this and that. And I said, no. So I left. I said, these people attacked me in my home and you a black man over here trying to sex traffic me. And I left and I was trying to get to a bus stop and another black man picked me up in a FedEx truck and told me I could ride with him. He took me to his job, told me I could sit in his car. Then he told me that he could not let me come to his home because he was moving out of town and he was with roommates. And he dropped me back off with Colin. When he dropped me back off with Colin, Colin continued to try to be belligerent with me in his home. And I ended up leaving and I went to the gas station with a bag of clothes in a grocery bag. And I called my father, Andrew Jones, and I told him what was going on. And then he said he would send me $20, go to the nearest Western Union. I went to the Western Union on Jones Road by the Kroger. When I went and stood up there, he said that something was wrong with his card. He could not send me the $20. I was trying to get some food. He said he could not send me the $20. And then there was a black woman who said, is there anywhere you need me to take you to? You look like you in distress. I said, ma'am, can you take me back to Conroe, Texas, please? I need to go to the shelter. She said, give me my number. I gave her my number and I said, ma'am, can I have a couple of dollars? I am very hungry. She looked at me like a piece of shit. And then she never called. And then so I went to the McDonald's to charge on my phone. There were black men coming in there laughing and eating Big Macs and all that in front of me. And then they were trying to joke and make laughs with me and I would not. And then they went outside and I asked one of the men, I said, sir, I need somewhere to go. I'm homeless. He looked at me like the scum of the earth, gave me his card and said, I'll see what I can do when I get off. I never called him. I walked to another plaza away from Colin's house going towards the expressway and I started looking for jobs over there. And the man said that he would hire me at the Pizza Hut, but that I couldn't start yet. He gave me a little pan pizza, personal pizza and a soda, and there was another white man there that they hired as a driver and they hired me as a cashier. He said I could not start. He would call me for orientation, but now I did not have a home, but I lied and I put that my previous address at Colin's house as the address that I was living at. And I didn't want to tell them that I was homeless because I felt like they would not hire me. So I walked back towards the McDonald's and a man named Jarvis picked me up in a burgundy vehicle, and then he said he sat with me at the McDonald's and said I could charge my phone there and that he would call someone to see if I could stay at their home. And he called Antonio Dean, and I went to Antonio Dean's sister's house. They picked him up. He said he was getting a rental car, and Colin had not calling, but Jarvis had, before we went to get Antonio Dean, he took me to AT&T, said he wanted to try to apply to give me some phones, and he got 2 iPhones in my name. I was supposed to get one. And then he pulled off with the 2 iPhones at the hotel and left me with Antonio Dean. Antonio Dean told me that he was just released from robbery, and then from prison. He had one eye was missing, and he told me that he would let me come and be with him stay with him at his sister's house. And so I was like, okay, but I told him that my situation, that I just got out of jail, for the charges was dropped, and I was telling him I did not want to be with him, and he was a heavyset male. And then we went back to his house. I told him that I wanted my phones, you know what I'm saying? And he brought me to, we went to that little hotel by his sister's house. He brought me to his sister's house, and then they were asking me for my bank cards because I had gotten a bank account when I was at Jakiba's house working at the Sonic. Judy took me up to TDECU, and she got a referral fee for signing me up for me getting an account, and it was asking me for my bank account, talking about they would want to put money in my account, that his sister had done it, and they wanted to put money in my account. And I said no, and they kept asking me for it, and they kept telling me that they wanted to do a fraud thing for the phones, and I told them no. I said I was going to call AT&T and report the phones stolen, because they were. And after that, Antonio Dean, they continued to, I told him, I said I got away. You know what I'm saying? I told him that I was going to try to find a way to give me some money, and I did, and I got me some money, and I got the hell away from them. I went and got a rental car, and I was on my own, and they were setting it up to sex traffic me. And after this, I ended up meeting a man named James Devon Harris. I know I'm missing out a few things about Antonio Dean. They took me to a grocery store, and they took me to Burger King, and there was black people all in the store, and they were watching me, and I did not know that they were poisoning the food in the grocery stores or anything like that. And there were black women coming around, and I was sleeping on the floor. They were turning the air conditioning down, very, very cold, in his sister's home. And I did not know what was going on. And then, help me, Jesus. When I had met James Devon Harris, I had a rental car. The rental company was charging me $800 to $1,200 a week for my rental cars. I met James Devon Harris, and he told me that I could come with him. He didn't want me to be sex trafficked, and I brought him. They were cutting off my cars. I had met several black men from the bricks and at the hotel, because I had been renting my own hotels, and they had black people coming up there trying to start arguments with me at the hotel. They had cars. They had black women trying to stage fights with me about the young black males from the hotel. And then I met a man named Larry first, before I met James Devon Harris. I met a man named Larry. He said he had just done 15 years in prison. He had on an ankle monitor. He said I could stay with him at this old black woman's house. He was staying in the back house, and he was trying to get me to say on the phone that I would have sex with men for money, because I had been working as an escort, and I said that I do not agree to have sex with men for money. The money is for my time, and they were trying to set it up as if I was soliciting myself to these men, and I wouldn't do it. And so he tried to have women come over to fight me. He drugged me, and he took pictures of me naked in his bed that I did not know of until I asked to use his phone one day. And I saw the pictures of me naked in his phone, and I did not recall. I was drugged. And then after that, I left there. He told me I had to leave there. I left there in my rental car, and I was at the gas station, and James Devon Harris pulled up in the car, and he offered to pay for my stuff when I came out of the store. I told him, I said, sir, I'm an escort. You're going to have to pay me for my time. And he called me one day, and he said that he would pay me. And then I picked him up from his mother's house at Chisholm Trail, Beverly, Raoul, and Greenspoint. And then he sent the message to my phone saying he wanted some head. But I had told James, I said, you would have to be my boyfriend. And we started going together. And then after that, I started dropping them off to work. I stopped escorting, and they took my rental car. I needed $100 for my rental car, and James was spending up all my money, and he would not give me the $100 like he said that he would. He was claiming that his debit card did not work, and that he had $600 in his account, but his debit card did not work. He brought me into Beverly Raoul's house knowing that I was pregnant. When he brought me into her home, they had been chasing me all over the city. They had been doing this since I left the jail, and he brought me into her home. There were several women, Jada, Keisha, Chardonnay, his mother, and there was their children was there. Their son, Jada's son, and his mother's young daughter, Alasia, was there. And then he was saying he had me in the back room at Beverly Raoul's home, and he was bringing me food and stuff, and he was going to work, and his brother Dominic was coming over with his son, and Brenda, and Beverly Raoul's brother was coming over with Dawn, and then a man from California was coming, and they were saying they were from Bakersfield, California, and there were drug dealers all around, and they were all trying to stage it and give me drugs, and then trying to just make it seem like I was just a prostitute. And then all of a sudden I told James that I was pregnant, because I still continue to feel the baby moving from the time that I was in the jail, but I had become numb to it because of all of the abuse that they were doing to me. And James, I told him I was pregnant. I showed him I was showing in Beverly Raoul's home. They were trying to give me alcohol. I would not drink the alcohol. They started getting very drunk and passing out. Jada and Beverly were getting drunk and passing out. Jada was putting the fan on her son at night without a blanket, and he was getting very sick. And Beverly Raoul's son, who was 15, was in the juvenile facility where they were saying that he had COVID, and then saying that he did not have it. And Beverly Raoul was staging altercations with other women, calling women and telling them that James had me there, and a girl named Mickey was coming over there, and they were trying to stage fights. And then I told James that I was pregnant. I told him what they did to me, that they poisoned me in the jail. I told him that it was the Illuminati, and when I told him this, he started to try to argue with me in the home. I helped him apply for an apartment because Beverly was saying that we needed to get out of her home after when she first took us in, because they had came and picked up the car when I was on my way to drop it off. There was men in his apartment trying to get me to go and get a hotel in my name, saying that they would pay me. And then when I was going with them, I was going to drop off the car. They stopped the car on me at the gas station when I was putting gas in it, and they came and picked up the car, and then tried to say that they were going to sue me for fees for having to pick it up and things like that, trying to say that I was a fraud or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the men were saying that they would help me out with some money because James had left me outside first. And then they said that if I go get the hotel in my name, they will pay me. I went with them, but they supposedly got the hotel already for a man and a young woman. Say he was cheating on his wife with the young woman. I didn't know this was a setup. They got a gun from the man and then asked me to ride with them, saying they were going to go kill someone. And I said, no, I'm not down with that. I just got out of jail. I don't want nothing to do with that. Drop me back off with James. And they did. And I went into his house with Beverly Raoul with my suitcase. And I told James what the man was going to do. And I told him I didn't trust those guys, that they were murderers. They said they were going to kill and rob someone, and I didn't want to be around them. And so after that, I was in their home pregnant, and I was trying to hide it from Beverly because I didn't want her to feel like he had brought a woman in her house that was pregnant. I was working on my music. I was starting to model. I had got rid of all my clothing when they tried to bring the girl Mickey to fight me, and I couldn't drag my bags. And James took me shopping with $200 at City Trends, and I bought clothes, and I started modeling and working on my lip line. And then I found an apartment for us to move in.